Greetings. Welcome. We are here today with the NourishED Research Foundation. NourishED is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization that aims to improve awareness, prevention, treatment access, and clinical and lived experiences for eating disorders and other social justice issues. I'm Brenna Bray. I'm the founder, director, and CEO of the NourishED Research Foundation. We're here to welcome one of our newest clinical research team leads, Mỹ Hiếu Lê. Mỹ Hiếu has her master's in clinical mental health counseling from Naropa University, focusing on contemplative Buddhist-informed psychotherapy and psychology. Mỹ Hiếu is a Vietnamese Buddhist nun, and we have some other video footage that gives a little bit of an introduction to Mỹ Hiếu. If you're interested, you can switch over and catch that. Mỹ Hiếu focused in her thesis project on developing a model that focuses on three components of Buddhism: Sila, Samadhi, and Prajna. We just did a video of that model, so if you want to learn more about that, you can go to that video. We'll link it. We're taking that model and we're using that model to develop three courses that we're really excited to offer through the NourishED Research Foundation. These courses are going to be offered in an online asynchronous, online live, and in-person group setting. So three different course options. Initially, we're offering them donation-based. We're going to include a little bit of a research component. And these courses are based off of Mỹ Hiő's Sila-Samadhi-Prajna model, and Mỹ Hiếu will be leading these courses. So we've, kind of held this space to just talk about these courses a little bit. Mỹ Hiếu, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Bray, for having me.
Yeah,
Hello, Nourish community.
thank you. I wonder if you might just share a little bit about the courses that you've developed.
Mm-hmm. Yes, as if you look at a video that I talk about my thesis, basically we have three main elements, and I want to develop that into how it's gonna look like in daily practice, or how can you take it away with you, as a like the most simple way to integrate the teaching into your daily practice. Uh, and its purpose may come from different angle, and how the course gonna meet you where you at, and how to benefit you as you are. Yes.
Mm, thank you. Yeah, so what I love about the course, and I think on our website on Nourished, we have the syllabus as well. You've kind of formatted it in this really nice modular format. So it's a 12 session course. There's four modules. Each module focuses on sila or mindfulness, awareness, samadhi or inner stability, and prajna or clarity. Module one focuses on the body. Module two focuses on the mind. Module three focuses on the emotions. And module four focuses on external phenomenon. So, kind of that final piece of how can we maintain mindfulness, stability, and clarity despite whatever else might be going on around us. I wonder if you might just share a little bit about, for folks who are interested in taking these courses, what else they might expect in these courses.
Yes. So yeah, I think for this course, everyone come to this good, like, not only the personal skill set of mindfulness and how to apply to your own personal life. We aim to create a good community to you, so we can practice and go through the courses together to build a good relationship with yourself and the community around you. Also have the like support system who share the same issues and who passionate to go through the same training and explore the new thing. So compassion and in the community is maybe the most important in this course. And so beside your personal skill set, you have the community. And also I would offer myself as Buddhist nun, in case if you have more further spiritual or emotional questions, I can be there and support you right away. Yeah, I think that's what maybe the course would be interested for people.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So what I'm hearing is, this first run of the course, we're really offering more as like a skills course, that anyone can use. And what I'm hearing you say are there's a couple different benefits of this course. And one is, for folks who are interested in their own internal practice, they'll get support and these tools that they can use for their own internal practice. But then also, for folks who are in the live courses, and we'll see if we can kind of cultivate this in the online asynchronous as well. There's this community element, right? That you're going to get practice engaging in other people, and you can kind of have this support system of other folks taking the course where you're kind of going through this process together. Beautiful. So I answered a little bit of this already, but I'll still ask, so who can take this course? Like, who'd be an ideal candidate for this course?
Yeah, I think, yeah, thank you for that question. I think with my approach, I would say that I offer this for everyone. But something I would consider to see if anyone would be beneficial from this course. So first, maybe if you want to experience mindfulness and other aspect of it. So mindfulness is not only just mindfulness, and in here we offer something else. And so it might be like more open minded to join this one and try another taste of mindfulness and explore different pieces around it. And also maybe like the readiness or the willingness to work and look inside and learn how to sit with yourself. I know that as a therapist, I know sitting with myself sometimes very challenging, but in order to take this course, and somehow if you are ready to or you want to learn how to sit with yourself, this would be very good fit. And also uh, in the community that I aim to create, there's something that we need to agree on. For example, we honor the diversity and experiencing and appreciate the root of the teachings and everywhere everyone come from. So that's just three elements that I think like if you want to join this course, you may be a little bit open to these pieces. That would be very great.
Yeah, beautiful. What I really love about the way that you've designed the course is, really that it can be accessible to anyone, right? Like the benefits of these practices, of mindful awareness, of inner stability, of clarity and wisdom, they can be applied to mental health issues for sure. And they also don't need to be, they're tools that can benefit anyone. They really provide kind of a way of having a different experience in life for folks who want it. And I think one thing I really appreciate about just the way that you offer these tools are it makes them feel so accessible, that anyone who's interested can come and learn a little bit about them and try them on. Like you don't have to have a mental health, illness or diagnosis. You can just be curious about mindfulness, which a lot of people are. Mindfulness has so many benefits, right? Like on the research side, we know that it stimulates brain-derived neurotrophic factor and neurogenesis and, new cell birth and growth and, neuroplasticity, new cell
Mm.
pathways in the brain. So it can be really effective in terms of mental health, or behavioral health issues where maybe someone might want to have a little bit of a different experience of how they navigate emotions or, their cognitive thought patterns, things like this. But it can also just be for anyone, and I think the way that you offer that is so user friendly. Also, just, for other maybe healthcare providers who are interested in having a more Buddhist informed approach or some more Buddhist informed training on, these elements of mindfulness and other, kind of core tenets of contemplative Buddhist psychotherapy. I think it's really nice and beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm going to circle back to that in a little bit, but I first just want to ask if you might give us a little bit of taste of like what folks can expect in this course series, and let's say maybe folks who are enrolling in one of the live courses, the online live or the
Mm-hmm.
live person course, what can they kind of expect?
Yeah. In terms of expectations, uh, I have my expectation as well. So I hope that the course would be build a skill set that every participant can have a good relationship with themselves in challenging time. And also have maybe after this course we have some friendship formed. So we have a community that support and appreciate the each person wholeness, like the wholeness come as you are, right? And then have a connection maybe with the facilitator, which is me. So in a very accessible way to support emotional and psychological support for you, any participant. I just put myself out there and would love to have any connection if you are interested. Yeah.
Beautiful. And then just walking through the actual structure of the course, I'll just kind of share for folks if they're curious, the way that you've kind of structured the courses are each, as we kind of mentioned. So we have 4 modules, and within each module, there's 3 kind of courses or 3 weeks. The first of those tends to focus on Sila or kind of mindfulness. The second focuses on stability, Samadhi. The third focuses on Prajna or Prana. And then within each course, you kind of follow this really nice structure, right? Where it kind of opens with an introduction, some background context. There's a little bit of psychoeducation, and then usually there's, an activity that folks do. So they're kind of engaging in a practice, and then there's this kind of space for reflection, and then there's usually I think there's like a personal activity, and then there might be like a partnered activity, and then there's some space for a personal share and a group share.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just really beautiful. I know of myself, I tend to really like when courses have, maybe a format, so I kind of know what to expect. That structure can be really helpful. And I think the fact that you have this kind of psychoeducation piece, so just giving folks the background, and then this experiential piece where we're practicing it. And it's almost like there's these 2 layers of the experiential piece. So we have a practice that we can practice within ourselves. And then we have a practice where we might be engaging with other people in this practice as well. And then that reflection piece as well. We might have some practices where we're reflecting in ourselves, and then some practices where we're reflecting with others. And I think just the setup of that is, to me, so just kind of divine and brilliant, that we get the introduction, then we have the experience, then we have the integration or the reflection. And we're doing that. I'm about to cough in a moment. We're doing that at the level of ourself and at the level of interacting with others. Then the other question, 2 other questions that I wanted to ask before we close. So we talked a little bit in the modular introductory video about, kind of the ways that we see Sila, Samadhi, and Prajna represented and maybe operationally defined in the literature base, and how that kind of, relates to or differs a little bit from the way that they're represented in traditional Buddhist theology and that they're being used in this model. The element of mindfulness is one that I think has become pretty popularized in Western culture, and especially in, clinical mental health. We see, things like Jon Kabat-Zinn brought kind of the mindfulness movement into cognitive behavioral therapy. So we really see that included in second and third generation cognitive behavioral therapy. And separately, we see mindfulness-based interventions, mindfulness-based stress reduction really becoming, popularized in Western mental health care, and physical health care too, to a point that it's really mainstream. And, in some fields like eating disorders, mindfulness-based interventions are really considered standard of care. I wonder if you might just talk a little bit about how what you're offering in this model, and maybe if you like more broadly, kind of Buddhist theology is similar to and or differs from what most folks might think of when they think of mindfulness.
Yes, that's very good question. Um, so I think beside all the benefit of mindfulness has been explored in the Western psychology, the courses that I'm trying to offer here have some distinction. For example, like why maybe like mindfulness-based stress reduction or mindfulness-based cognitive therapy is typically trying to focus on symptom reduction. And here the course will be more rooted in deeply in how to connect with that. So instead of try to fight the symptom or try to reduce the symptom, we try to build a better relationship with them. And from there, what happened is like we can hold on of that with another broader view and approach. Secondly, I think so the course emphasize mindfulness is not simply a tool, but a way of being, right? And the foundation for insight into the nature of suffering and liberation, rather than emphasize cognitive like restriction or behavioral change. That's invite participants to explore like maybe deepen in existential or spiritual experience of their lives. And then I think maybe this course have a like stronger space for community where often missing in clinical mindfulness model, and the approach can be foster a deeper sense of belonging or meaning or interconnection between individuals. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that three main differences of this
Beautiful.
course can bring to people. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So what I really hear you saying, I just want to really hammer on this point. One thing I observe of Western healthcare systems is there is this strong emphasis on symptom reduction, for a lot of
Yes.
very valid reasons, right? Like if someone is showing up for treatment, that's what they're there for, right? So there's this emphasis on symptom reduction. And I think that when we see mindfulness-based interventions being used in Western healthcare, just as you named, they are often in the context of symptom reduction. And taking a step back, there's this kind of mentality that I observe, and I've observed this in myself, and a big part of my own process has been learning to differentiate where a focus is on the outcome versus the process, right? And so oftentimes in Western healthcare settings, we see mindfulness-based interventions being used as a means to an end, right? Where the end is symptom reduction, and mindfulness is like this tool that you can use to get there. And what I really hear you offering, or how I interpret this, is really it's the mindfulness piece that is the outcome. Like it's the process. That's the whole point, is when you can experience mindfulness and let go of the outcomes. Like you almost, to an extent, you almost can't hold on to these outcome goals and have mindfulness at the same time. You have to let go of holding on to the outcomes to be centered in mindfulness. And when you do that, the outcomes just happen to fall into place
Yes.
anyway. Um, yeah, I think that's so beautiful. And, it's something I really observe for myself in a lot of areas of like when I focus on an outcome of something, the process is just gruesome. But when I can just let go of the outcome and be present in the process, that's where all the magic happens. And that's something that I observe in the mental health care space as well, in my own processes of treatment and in treatment communities, right? That when we can let go of how we want the future to be in the past and trying to overcorrect and blah, 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 and just center in the present. Then
Yes.
things are so easy, right? All we need to do is just be. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
beautiful.
you make me think about one of the like the most popular issues of people that I come to me is they don't want the thing that they are. They
Hmm.
want something different.
Hmm.
And in Buddhist teaching, because we don't, the cause of suffering is we want things to be different. Always want things to be different. They change, we don't want them to change, or they look like this, we don't like that. We want something different. Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
very core issues, not individually but also systemically.
yeah. And so what I'm hearing you offer is these are some tools. Like I, I think what I kind of my understanding of Buddhist theology is Buddhist theology really embraces that, like, that is the nature a bit of the human experience, that kind of suffering, that wanting of something different than what it is, right? And so these Buddhist tools are one that can enable us to, maybe not even let go of the wanting, but not be attached to it, right? So like there can be me over here wanting, whatever I want. And I don't have to steer my life towards that. I want
Mm-hmm.
red hair. I don't have it. I'm not going to hold up my entire life trying to get red hair, or I'll dye my hair and I'll move on with my life, right? But just kind of we can continue to be who we are, um, and accept that, like, for me, that is part of maybe that's part of my experience. I'm never going to love change. I'm always going to, buck change. So, how can I navigate that as part of my experience rather than trying to prevent change,
Mm-hmm.
just things of that nature.
Yes.
The other thing that I feel a little bit called to offer that I think is really beautiful about these practices. One, first, this isn't what I was going to offer, what I heard you say of like, because we're offering this as more of a skills course and a grassroots approach, that makes it very simple to let go of these treatment outcomes, right? And we're not focusing on whatever these ancillary things are. It really is just the practice of these tools and achieving these kind of states or experiences that we might want to have. The piece of that self-acceptance, and I think that you would agree with this, so I'll just offer my perspective and you can share what you feel. As someone who has gone through a traditional Western healthcare treatment model for an eating disorder, um, especially in the eating disorder space, I think oftentimes tolerating symptoms
Mm.
um, are considered part of standard care. Eating disorders are considered long-term disorders, meaning 3 years are allotted for recovery. And so oftentimes, I think part of the treatment experience in the Western model is accepting you have an eating disorder, accepting this is your experience right now. Um, and I think there can be a very fine distinction between accepting and I'm not sure the right terms that I want to use here. Permitting isn't quite it, but we, I guess what I'm trying to offer is one thing that I've found helpful for me in my experience is we can accept how things are. That doesn't need to mean that we approve of them or that they're okay. For folks who maybe have experienced trauma, we can accept that that trauma happened. That doesn't mean that it's okay that it happened, right? It just means I'm going to accept the facts. They happened. And I think maybe for folks with mental health issues as well, accepting, okay, right now my experience is, an eating disorder or depression or anxiety. That doesn't mean I'm giving my consent to always live with this experience, right? It
Mm.
just means I'm accepting that this is what my experience is right now. And I think that's where that piece of prajna or prana, that clarity or wisdom can really come in. And, again, correct me if I'm off, but I think when we can tap into that inner stability and that inner clarity and our own inner knowing of what is really true for us, to me, that's where this magic can really happen. And my own experience of having an eating disorder, when I was able to tap into unconditional love for myself, recognizing that I wanted that and that I didn't have that for myself, that opened up this space for me to stop attending so much to what everyone else thought about me and start to tune into what I thought about me, my own
Mm.
inner
Yeah.
clarity. And it helped bring up this awareness of what do I think about me? Well, it's not good. I don't like how I'm
Mm.
acting and behaving in the world, right? So,
Mm.
okay, what do I need to do to change that? And I think for me, that's a twofold path. Part of that is, well, change your actions then so you like them, kind of take those steps to get actions into alignment, and also that piece of self-compassion. What are the parts where I don't have control over, and learning to love myself regardless so that I can love others regardless.
Yeah.
And I guess what I was also going to offer was for me in that moment of that clarity was also a truth of this is what my life is now. At the time I was experiencing very severe bulimia that I had been experiencing for 13 years.
Mm.
I had all this shame and, guilt around
Mm.
myself for that.
Mm.
And I was able to just accept that as true. And right there also was the truth that this is not who I am, or, the period end of sentence for my life, right?
Mhm.
My knowing at the time was, if there's a creator who had any type of a life in mind for me, it wasn't this, and if there's multiple possibilities for me in my life, there's more than this. I guess that's maybe a better way to put it, of like, I'm not sentenced to this singular experience in my life. And um, tapping into that brilliant sanity, that inner clarity of, this is my experience, but it's not who I am. I have these feelings around, my eating disorder, guilt, shame, these things, but that's not who I am. I'm just as worthy of love and clarity and sanity as everyone else. And I have those things already, just as
Mhm.
much as everyone else does. I just need to have that stability and clarity to see them, kind of.
Yes. Yes, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing very personal experience.
Yeah.
That's very meaningful.
Yeah. Thank you. Um, Beautiful. I think that covers everything, maybe that we'll talk about here. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, or anything that I haven't asked?
Yeah, I could I think I hope I can see everyone there in person or virtual or live. Yeah, I hopefully we have more time and opportunity to connect and see you at Nourished.
Mm, beautiful. Thank you so much. Before we close out, Mihi is getting ready to travel to California for a 2-week meditation retreat, and then to Vietnam for a little bit, in Malaysia, where you'll be presenting at the International Buddhist Women's Conference. And then we'll be getting you back here stateside towards the end of July, and we're aiming to kick off these courses August 1st. So,
Yes,
um, fantastic. Thank you so much for taking some time to share with us today, and we'll look forward to regrouping in August.
yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.